And even for my sick bed, even if you are going to lower me into the grave and I feel that something is going wrong, I'll get up. Those who believe that when I have left the government as Prime Minister that I've gone into permanent retirement really should have their heads examined.
He was betrayed, kicked out of his own country, and built a global superpower on a swamp. It's 1965. He appears on television, tears streaming down his face. His dream is shattered. He's been expelled, left with a tiny island. No army, no resources, no water. Experts said it could not survive. He traded weakness for an iron will. First, defense, an army from scratch. A poison shrimp defense, small but lethal. Then order, an iron fist. He declares war on corruption. When one of his own ministers takes a bribe, the system he built shows no mercy. No one was above the law. He shows his strength to the world. The CIA sends spies. He catches them. Washington demands them back. He refuses. He demands the USA pay $100 million. He turns slums into skyscrapers. Third world to first, in one generation. The man who turned Singapore into a global giant was Lee Kuan Yew.
This was a mudflat, swamp. Today, this is a modern city. 10 years from now, this will be a metropolis. Never fear. You know, some people think, oh, well, you know, we are a small place, they can put the screws on us. It's not so easy. We are a small place. In size, yes, geography. But in the quality of the men, the administration, the organization, the metal in a people, the fiber. Don't try. That's why we got booted out, you know. If they could have just squeezed us like an orange and squeezed the juice out, I think the juice would have been squeezed out of us. And all the goodness would have been sucked away. But it was a bit harder, wasn't it? It was more like the durian. You try and squeeze it, your hand gets hurt. And so they say, right, throw out the durian. But inside the durian, you know, some very useful ingredients, high protein. And we will progress.
The fascinating thing about Lee Kuan Yew is he took 3 important decisions right at the beginning for Singapore. Each one of them now seems obvious. Each one at the time was deeply contested. Number 1, he said everyone's going to speak English. Now, there were lots of people who said to him at the time, no, we've been thrown out of Malaysia effectively. We're now a fledgling country, a city-state country. We need to have our own local language. You know, we need to be true to our roots and everything. He said, no, English is the language of the world and we're all going to speak English. Secondly, he said, we're going to get the best intellectual capital and management capital from wherever it exists in the world, and we're going to bring it to Singapore. And again, people said, no, we should stand on our own 2 feet. And he said, no, I'm going to bring in the best from wherever they are, and they're going to come to Singapore. And the third thing he did was he said there's going to be no corruption, and one of the ways we're going to do that is we're going to make sure our political leaders are well paid, which the Singapore leaders are the best paid in the world, and there's going to be zero tolerance of corruption. Those are the 3 decisions that were instrumental in building Singapore today.
This is how you speak like a leader.
I am calculating not in terms of the next election. That's no trouble. 68, no trouble. I am calculating in terms of the next generation, in terms of the next 100 years, in terms of eternity. And believe you me, the next 1,000 years, we will be here. I won't be here, but people like me and like my friends here tonight will be here. Recognizable, identifiable, 1,000 years from hence. And it is people who calculate and think in those terms that deserve to survive.
When he speaks, you can just feel the conviction and confidence in his voice. He talks loudly, but then more quietly. and assertively. And then loudly again. This variety keeps it interesting. He doesn't stutter one time, and he paces himself. He's looking at the audience like he's having a conversation with them. It's speeches like these that change the world.
I gave them a choice. Continue this, and I will, by every means at my disposal, teach you and get the people of Singapore, help me teach you a lesson you won't forget. And I'm prepared to start all over again. Or stop it. Get back to work, restore discipline, then argue your case. Took them 65 minutes. They did as much talking as I did, a lot of them in answer to my questions. And they decided, okay, it isn't worth the fight. Why? Because they know they'll lose. They know that I'm prepared to ground the airline. They know that I can get the airline going again without them. And let there be no mistakes about this. Whoever governs Singapore must have that iron in him, or give it up. This is not a game of cards. This is your life and mine. I spent a whole lifetime building this. And as long as I'm in charge, nobody's going to knock it down.
Sometimes it's difficult to explain. I mean, the most difficult of all to explain was when my own colleague, who built up all these beautiful houses, she is an architect, very able organizer, called Teh Chang Wan. I've covered him in one of my chapters. He could have made a fortune outside just as an architect. But for some reason, he yielded to the temptation of taking $500,000 for adding an extra piece of land on a land sale, so that the developer has a neat little completed plot. Then he did that for another one. And years later it cropped up, and the investigations had to start. He wanted to see me to solve the problem. I said, if I see you, then I'll be a witness in court, so best not see me. Better see your lawyer. He committed suicide and he left a note and said, as an Oriental gentleman who believes in honor, I have to pay the supreme price. Died. And the family left because we had created by then, this was 85, 86, we had created in Singapore a climate of opinion which considers bribery, especially bribery graft in high places, as totally devastating to the society and the economy. But it's a heavy price, but it reminds every minister that there are no exceptions.
The father of Singapore. What if I told you? One man, world-class education. But he wasn't perfect. He ruled with an iron fist. He banned chewing gum, controlled the media, and jailed his critics. To some, he was a dictator. To others, a visionary. Today, Singapore is a global powerhouse. Safe, modern, efficient, and proud. He once said, even from my sickbed, if you are going to lower Singapore, I will get up. 3 facts.
We've got one little island, 600 square kilometers. You unwind this, you will not drop down on soft paddy fields. It's hard concrete, your bones are broken, and it's kaput. And if you want to know why I am tough, it's because I know what happens. I travel, and I'm not looking at the tourist sites. As they show me these things, I'm carrying on a quiet conversation. I said, look, by the way, how much are you paid? And you get behind the wrapping down to the skeleton, and you know that Singapore has only one chance, and that is to go up. Tighter, more discipline, up the ladder. You unwind this, it's curtains for everybody. On that note, I wish you, I'm confident this is a good year, so I wish you a happy and a prosperous year,
And I say, if you want many more such happy and prosperous years, just be as hard-headed, be as determined that you will not make foolish mistakes. You will not go for soft policies, as I have refused soft policies each time and each election. The future is in our hands. Seize it firmly. Make your children work. Make them the best possible workers possible. Not all will make it to the university, but even if they are carpenters, but they are good carpenters, you will have good houses, good furniture. This is a good and thriving country. Thank you.
Now, you also have one of the highest rates of capital punishment.
Yes, that's for drugs.
That's for drugs.
Yeah, and
because you think drugs deserve to be treated with the maximum punishment.
If we could kill them 100 times, we would, because you destroy whole families. It's terrifying to see, because you're then drug dependent. You steal, you cheat, you rob your own parents. I mean, it's soul destroying, and they come in knowing that death, if they are found with this goods on them, but the rewards are so great. And they try very, very unusual people. Women from Africa, big mammies, come to sell clothes, and in between the clothes are kilos of heroin.
And if you bring heroin into Singapore,
you hang.
You hang.
You hang. Anything beyond 10 grams, you hang. Below 10 grams, maybe you can say...
If you are convicted of bringing in more than 10 grams of heroin...
You hang.
You hang.
That's right.
After a jury trial.
Yes, of course. No jury trial. Judge.
Judge.
Yeah.
Judge listens to the evidence presented?
Yes, of course.
And if he says you're guilty, you hang.
You hang. And they still come. Unbelievable.
Well, do you believe capital punishment is a deterrent or not?
Without capital punishment, our transshipment rate as a drug center would quadruple or quintuple.
Because you're right on the passageway.
Yes, and our internal consumption would go up by a multiple of 10.
In 1965, this tiny island was expelled from Malaysia and told it would never survive. No resources, no army, not even drinking water. Its leader, Lee Kuan Yew, wept on national TV. But behind those tears was the start of something unbreakable. At the time, Singapore was a struggling colonial outpost. Jobs were scarce. Trust in the future was even scarcer. But Lee was not here to manage decline. He was here to build. He tore down slums to create world-class public housing, stamped out corruption, promoted English to unite a diverse people. He pushed Singapore through decades of difficult reforms. They weren't always popular, but they worked. The results speak for themselves. In 1965, Singapore's GDP per capita was under $500. Today, it ranks among the highest in the world. Singapore now leads Asia in education, healthcare, and life expectancy. Changi Airport has just been named the best in the world for the 13th time. Singapore Airlines ranks number 2 globally. Its port remains one of the busiest on the planet. And over 7,000 multinational companies call this island home. Global tech giants like Microsoft, Google, Meta, and ByteDance have made Singapore their regional base. It is the easiest place in the world to do business, a top 3 global financial hub, and Southeast Asia's innovation capital. All of this from a nation the world once wrote off. Lee Kuan Yew didn't just lead. He built a nation that defied the odds and redefined what was possible. As Singapore celebrates SG 60, let us remember the father of our nation, whose vision, grit, and sacrifice gave us the Singapore we are proud of today. Follow us to discover more stories of Asia's boldest builders.
This was a mud-flat swamp. 10 years from now, this will be a metropolis. Never fear. The next 1,000 years, we will be recognizable, identifiable. A total population refused to be cowed. We drummed up the music, but the people stiffened their backs.
By 1965, I've traveled through the whole of Africa, 17 countries. I went through in 1964 on a special mission. I've traveled widely in Asia and in Europe. and in the region. I've been to Indonesia, Malaysia, Burma, and I've seen what didn't work. First, leaders became soft.
Right.
They promised the world, follow me. In fact, in Ghana, there was a statue of Nkrumah,
Right.
and he called it Black Square, Black Star Square, and there was a black star, and there was his statue, and there's a plinth which says, "Seek ye the kingdom of politics, and all will be unto you." I thought, God, that's blasphemy. But never mind.
Yeah.
That was Nkrumah. And it was an awful mess, because you could see the thing wasn't working. He had all the symbols, black square, marching troops.
Remember this. Good ministers are not just those who kiss babies and smile and have dialogue sessions. You can have endless dialogue sessions. It's very good. You keep on listening and so on. It means at the end taking very tough, very unpleasant, very unpopular decisions and still smiling and still explaining. And finally pointing out, see, we are turning the corner. The figures prove it. That's what government is about.
Every successful man, before he's successful, he must have some inner drive in him, something that makes him make the right judgments in life. You need a people with a drive and a leadership that anticipates the future.